Part B. In Preferences, Photoshop Preferences, there is a space called the history log. Now let me tell you what happens. When you run history in a panel, it keeps track of the history of that file, but only while that file remains open. As soon as you quit that file or save that file, you lose history. Oh, that's not much good. I went to high school, I took a history class, and as soon as I got up the next day and went back to school, I'd forgotten everything they taught me. That's not a useful history lesson. You can avoid that here in History Log. Boy, I want to tell every Photoshop editor or photographer, come here with me, please, and check this button. Save a history log. It'll save the history and it will follow every file. How? Well, in the metadata, it will apply the history of what you've done to a file in Photoshop into the metadata, the behind-the-scenes data of that file. Or you could export it to a text file. And it wants to know, where do you want to save that? I could do just that. It's an either or. I can either save it to the metadata or I can save it to a text file unless I check this, my favorite, both. Save it to both. Give me metadata and a text file. Both. Fantastic. Where do you want to save the log? And I tell it. That's up to you. And then, let's go ahead and say that. And then, what kind of details do you want? Sessions only are really tiny. Not a lot of detail. Concise, not a lot of detail. I prefer detailed. Part B. History log, both please, detailed. It shows up in both the metadata and in this text file that gets saved. Check. Part C. You can now edit or paint with any moment in time. Wait, what? You see this little icon? I'm going to zoom in and let you take a peek. This little icon right here looks like a paintbrush, but it bends back in history. It goes back in time. It paints with a point in history. That's what it does. So I'm going to go look. Let's see. When I opened it, that was cool. But right now, notice I'm not clicking this checkbox area. Right? I'm not clicking the checkbox. I'm clicking the words. That's important. I'm going to come back to the future. Here I am now in future time. This is what it looks like. But remember when I opened it, and earlier I told you that the delete sister, in a previous bonus item, that the delete sister, claw delete, fills with undo. I lied. Delete sister 5, claw delete, fills with wherever you've put this paint in history cursor. Now you can paint with history or you can fill with the delete sister to history. Let me show you what I mean. Here I'm in current time. That's the most recent event in history. But if I put that brush icon next to when I opened it, and then I sneak over into my brushes panel, not the brush, not my tool, not my brush tool, but my paint back with history tool, it will choose that point in time to paint with. So I can say, yeah, remember back in time when this side of the image looked thusly. I just painted with history. I might as well have gone back and saved Lincoln. But it did not change any other point in time. Now, if I've got a selection, I make a selection, even if I feather the edges, right? I haven't yet, but I could. If I feather the edges and I say, well, back when I ran, I don't know, let's say the Dodge tool, I can claw delete and fill with that point in time. It's filling. Delete sister 5 is filling with that point in time. Deselect. Let me select this chunk right here as it comes across. Go back to when I open the file and delete sister. Claw delete. Go back at that point in time. Wow. With this sort of control over every creative move you've made in Photoshop, you're virtually unstoppable. You have the power over history.